Hi, I'm Keith from Amina, and today we're going to be cutting in and mudding in a couple of our loudspeakers, our invisible loudspeakers. For that, we're going to be needing some tools. So I brought some tools out over here, put them on the bench, just to go through them. A template. Templates are always good because that allows us to cut properly. Then, of course, we need to measure where we're going to be putting the template. So a tape measure is always good. We can also then measure from the inside as to how far away the studs are from the hole that we're going to cut. Then, of course, cutting the hole itself, saw, or perhaps a utility blade. Both of them work very well. We'll go through that when we install them. Wire cutters, wire strippers, hand screwdriver, and of course our little helper. And then some extra drywall screws, just in case that when you hit the wall and you hear a little rattle, we can get rid of that by putting a couple of extra screws in. And when we finally get to the mudding stage, we're going to need some drywall tools. So we got a small tool, like a small blade, 6-inch blade, or about a 12 centimeter blade. And that is for literally pushing the compound in. And then to finish the compound off, we're gonna have the large blade, and then we tape it up. Perfect, let's go for it. We'll be installing the Sapphire 250 with the CV345 Backbox that we've got over here. We'll unbox it in a moment. As you can see, it's got WAGO connectors, so it's going to be an easy install to the wiring. We've got everything in place. We're going to cut a hole and find out where the studs are. Then we're going to put up a template and get ready to install this. So let's start her off. We're going to put it in this bay over here, slightly up high. We figured that, you know, we're going to be maybe putting a TV over here or something. So let's put it over here. And I need to find out where the studs are. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut a little hole. There we go. There's some insulation in there. That's good. That's going to detonate a bit. And we're going to grab our tape measure and find out where the studs are, because that's pretty important if we want to go and cut a hole. Okay, there we are. We're just going to transpose that over here. So we know the first stud ends over here. The stud on the right. Okay, well, we got about 13 centimeters, so let's go and transpose that to the surface. And that should give us about 14 or so in between. That's perfect. Okay, so we know where the studs are. At this point, we're going to have to go and hope that the studs are straight. And in the CV345, yeah, we've got a template. So that's a CV345, it's got the screws with it, it's got everything there that we need. So let's get cracking. On the instructions, you'll see how to install this. So we did the little bit of a cutout, we found out where it is. Now we're going to put up the template. And for that, we're going to need a little bit of masking tape. So the template in between. And the template will be the size of the loudspeaker itself. We're just going to go and grab a level. And well, we couldn't find a small level, so we got a really big level. It doesn't matter. A level is a level. And we find already that, okay, so I'm a little bit crooked. That's better. So that should be about where we cut the hole. So we've got this level and see if we're right. See where the actual stud is. Oh, there's the stud on one side. Let's see where the stud is over here. Oh, we're right on the edge of that. So let's see what the top is like. And over here. Well, we're right on the edge of it, so looks like we're good. And we should have the perfect 345 by 450 cutout. Great. Now we've got a lot of insulation in here, so perhaps what we want to do is make sure that we can put the back box in and we find our cable, take out some of that thick insulation. You can leave a little bit behind the speaker back box in order to dampen it, but if we leave too much insulation, the back box will not fit. Oh, and there's our cable that we pulled previously. Always good to pull your speaker cable before you actually drywall. Now we can take the back box and take it out of its plastic. And of course, it comes with all the drywall screws that you need in order to put this in. There's a grommet at the very top in which we can insert the cable, at which point we can actually take the back box and using the tab to align it. All right. So, taking the screws out of the packaging, we find sufficient drywall screws to put this box in. I'll temporarily put those in there and align the first top right. Make sure that it's centered and screw in the first drywall screw. Take the opposite corner. Make sure you don't have your fingers in behind where you're going to be screwing this in, so you don't end up putting a screw through your fingers. All the screws are in. We're ready to put the speaker in. All right, we're ready to go and put the speaker into the Backbox CV345, and for that, of course, in the box, in the packaging, comes a little baggie with specific screws. Now, these specific screws are stainless. They therefore cannot rust, as well as the WAGO connector, which we already got on the speaker over here. And we'll be using those together with the screw gun as well as the screwdriver, because we don't want to go and set the speaker to the level yet. The first thing that we want to do is make sure that we got the speaker screwed right in. The WAGO connector is great. It's an easy installation. You just flip them back, strip the wire that you're going to be attaching to, and then make sure that you got the right polarity, snap them, and they're going to be in place. So let's go and do that first. To strip the wire back, I like to use a utility knife and actually just score the outside of the cable. Get rid of anything else that you don't need, like that lovely little lead wire in there. and then strip back using the strippers. We're going to strip back the cable about 10 millimeters or about 3/8 of an inch. Well, I went a little overboard on that one, so that's why we've got the cutters and we cut them back a little bit. Perfect. All right. A little twist with the twist of the wire. And we're ready to hook on the loudspeaker. Now you'll find that with these WAGO connectors, the connection is so strong, you can actually hang the speaker right off of it. Now make sure you don't have any of the wires sticking out so that you can have a short. Make sure the connection is strong, and as I said, you know, it's a pretty strong connection. And whoops, what do I see in the back box? We almost forgot to take these out. The extra drywall screws that I put in there to put the box in. We really want to make sure that nothing is left inside the back box because there are magnets on the back. And what's going to happen is, of course, those screws are going to stick to the magnet and you're going to have yourself a rattler. So you don't want to do that. Neither do you want to have too much cable in the back because the cable could start to clack on the back. So really what you want to do is push back most of the cable that you've got before you start putting the speaker in. The speaker can lean out nicely, and we're going to get the screw gun and the specific screws to put the speaker into these holes. Now you can see we have over here and over here all the way around. We've got the mounting holes. Here we have pre-drilled holes. So really what we want to do is hit that point and then put the screw in, but we don't screw it in completely. We leave the screw slightly short. There's always an extra screw in that package just in case you drop one. I'll go back to the opposite side now. And the last screw at the top. And that's where we take the hand screwdriver and the level. As you can see, we're quite proud of where we're supposed to be. So we'll take the screw gun or the hand screwdriver and we start bringing the speaker in so that the corners are actually flush with the drywall. You don't want to over tighten it. That's nice. Go across the diagonal. And the speaker starts to come down. And then the final one. And that's perfect. So that's that part of the installation done. The speaker is flush with the rest of the drywall, and we're ready to start mudding her in. So now that we've got the speaker in, we want to make sure that there's not going to be any buzzes, that there's not going to be any trouble before we start plastering it in. So, you know, we take away any of that extra tape that we had up there from when we put the template on. And then, oh, that might be a problem area. I think we're going to put an extra screw in there, just to be sure. that brings it tight to the stud, and that's gone. So that takes away one problem. Next thing, of course, we want to know that this speaker is going to work properly, because we've been moving it around, we've been playing with it, we, have screws in here, and there's other areas that might buzz. So what we do is we just take the tone generator, and I just downloaded this from the App Store. Got a little signal generator, and what we're going to do is we're just going to run a sweep through this so that we can actually hear if the speaker has any problems. So there we go. Wow, perfect. Let's get it ready for tape and mud. So we are ready to start mudding in the speaker, and really what we've done is we created a sort of consistency of ice cream, the thick ice cream on the mud. And this is a fast set 30-minute compound, so that it's not going to take too long for this to dry. It would be nice and hard, after which we tape. So what we want to do is to create a bond between the speaker and the drywall itself by actually filling the gap, much like you would with a slat and plaster type of wall repair. And really what we're going to do is press the compound right into the gap without spilling it, of course, all over the place. And we use the little 6-inch blade for that. Okay, so really what we want to do is press that compound right in there so that it protrudes past the speaker edge and create a base for us to tape over. So there is the first stage of the installation. At this point, we'll grab the tape, and we got lovely orange tape. This is for the Dutch football team, of course. And we've got this lovely orange tape that we're going to go and put across so we can see what we're actually doing. And tape right over top of the edge. And I don't do an overlap because that's really not necessary. Just bring it up to the edge again of the previous tape and rip the blade. So here we have the seam covered with the tape. And the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go and put more mud and put our first coat of mud over top of the speaker. And of course, I'm quite generous with this stuff. And this is called the scratch coat. For that, we take another blade. This blade actually will nicely cover the whole speaker. And put approximately 1 millimeter, or a little less than 1 millimeter, of mud, about 1/16 of an inch, across the whole speaker. And what we've got now is our scratch coat. We let this dry, and when we come back once it's dry, we start putting on our second and final coat. So there you have it. We tested the speaker, we tone tested it, we took away any rattles out of the wall and made sure that everything works perfectly. We got the speaker to the point where your plasterer can come in and do the final finishing. We've installed the Sapphire 250. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and we'll see you the next time.